Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to 2015! Way, it's here! All systems back up and running on Team Bomber Sports. My phone's working again. My laptop is working again. It lives! It lives again. To celebrate all that, we are going to start the year off with a special three-way diecast review. We're going to be focusing on some of last year's single car stars. It's on box. Yeah, that's about as much as you need to know about the box. There's no dents or scratches. And this thing got smashed to pieces. Zingy, that's a good word. Oh, excuse me. It's sloppy. I've seen paper customs on YouTube done better than this. Yes, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Diecast Review Monday in association with Race Gear UK. This is going to be regular on Team Bomber Sports this year. Got a few quick updates to tell you about before we get into the review. Team Bomber Sports essentially is going to be diecast focused all year. It is just going to be diecast reviews and stop motions all year, baby. I can't wait for it. Every Monday will be diecast review time, and every Friday will be stop motions of some kind. There's a load of races planned. 3 or 4 Sprint Cup races planned, a bunch of Xfinity races, the NASCAR Masters Series, plus Global Rallycross, NHRA. There's all sorts of stuff coming your way this year. We'll have BombersportsGaming as the second channel. They will have uploads every Thursday with gameplay videos and all sorts. And I've now got a third channel up and running that you can subscribe to in the description of this video called RealBombersports. That's where all my real life adventures are going to go. My vlogs, everyday motorsport, any videos I do from real life race events, of which I'm hopefully going to be attending quite a few this year, including Autosport International next week. That's going to be very exciting. So that's all going to be over there. Go subscribe to it right now, and it's going to be a huge year, hopefully, for Team Bomber Sports in 2015. So let's kick it off in mighty fine fashion here with the single car special. As you can see over to the right, we've got 3 cars from the 2014 season, all are single car teams from the Sprint Cup. So let's start with perhaps the fan favourite, shall we say. He probably was the least successful of the 3. Let's have a look at him first, though. He certainly has the most stylish car and the most innovatively funded car, perhaps. He is, of course, the man who probably not many people knew about at the start of the season, but now they do, mainly because of the weird dog that's on his car. Yes, here it is. To start us off, this is Josh Wide's number 98 Dogecoin Chevrolet for Phil Parsons Racing. I still can't quite believe this is a thing, that this exists, but you better believe it, because it does. It does exist. This was the famous car that ran at Talladega last year in the spring and was entirely funded by, I believe it was a Reddit campaign for Dogecoin, which is based on the famous Doge meme. You know, wow, such NASCAR, very fast, much speed, wow, or something like that, you know what I mean? It was one of those memes that had gotten old by the time, and then, you know, if it wasn't for such a good cause, I'd be like, well, you just sod off now, you're about as funny as a bowler. But because it was for a good cause and it was helping the small Phil Parsons Racing single car team get a bit of fame and be able to run the races, I think it's pretty cool, to be honest. I think it's quite a nice thing. Attempts have been made to try and emulate it, but, you know, they don't have a Doge or a doggy or whatever it's called on the car, so they haven't worked quite as well. There's the side. We spin round to the back. He's watching you. Look at him there. Wow. Such drafting. Much slamming. Very speed. Wow. Or something like that. I can meme. Anyway, so this is the car. It's a really nice livery, actually. I think that was crucial to it. The Dogecoin livery actually looked quite good. It's a black and sort of peach sandy colour, dividing the sort of white grey at the bottom as well. And obviously it's covered in the Doge, or the dog of the Doge, if you will. And I believe this is one of the newer moulds. It's got the old mould style font on the box, but certainly it does feel like one of the newer mould cars, but it doesn't look like them. That's to say, it looks very good. The decals are applied very, very well. This is a really nice model. I've been enviously watching various American diecast reviewers review this car and own it, and now it's my turn. Courtesy, I have to say, by the way, do not get these cars from Race Gear UK. They'll be getting them in very, very soon, so you can use your 15% discount when you quote Team Bomber Sports in there. Aha! These were actually supplied to me by a friend of the channel, Simon Topham. He also loves this driver, and he'll be second up. This is Casey Mears, number 13, Geico Germain Racing Chevrolet. Now, Casey Mears, he had a bit of a struggling time in the top tiers at Sprint Cup. I mean, he was at Chip Ganassi Racing for many years, won a race at Hendrick Motorsports, he flitted around certain arenas, never quite got through, but now he's sort of made his name as a persistent runner with Germain Racing, a little single car team that used to be a start and parker, used to have, you know, they have inconsistent seasons, they wouldn't run all the races, but now, the last few seasons, they've been simply focusing on running all the races, and they've not done too bad a job about it. They managed, this year, a 4th place at the Coke Zero 400. That's not too bad, you know. And we are, you know, we love little underdog teams on this channel. We're big supporters of the likes of, particularly impressed by Ryan Sieg last year, the number 39 team in Nationwide. So we love little teams like this. This is another one on the new mould. You can see the front end's a little bit out of wank. Oh my God. That's an outtake. It's a little bit out of whack on this side. It's a little bit down there, and it's a little bit higher on that side. But it's not too bad. It's certainly not as rubbish as previous cars we've seen. There's the side, and there's the back. It's a very nice little scheme they've got going on the number 13 Germain Racing car. It's a consistent sponsor. Geico has been good supporters of the team. And the scheme is quite nice. It's mostly white with blue, and these green highlights are on the number as well. That matches obviously the lizard of the Geico, the gecko, if you will, who turns up in all those adverts that you always see on the NASCAR broadcast. It's quite strange. It's a lovely model. I would advise you definitely get it. It looks really good. And this is further kind of continuing Lionel's strategy of making these smaller team cars, which I think is fantastic. I think props to them for going to the effort of making the cars for these smaller teams. It gives them recognition, it gives them sponsorship, and it gives us more interesting cars to have a look at. Mind you, this third one that we're going to look at, they're a single car team, but they certainly didn't act like it in 2014. Being as they did, they qualified for the chase, and they took an epic race win at Watkins Glen. Goodness me, they were the David fighting like Goliath. So let's have a look at that car now, because he's a very cool driver, and this is a very cool car. This is, of course, AJ Allmendinger's number 47, Scott's Products, JTG Daughtry Racing Chevrolet. Now, this and the Germain Racing car both have partnerships, technical partnerships and alliances with Richard Childress Racing, because, I mean, in 2013, Furniture Row Racing really proved how valuable that can be. With Kurt Busch driving that car, and with technical support from RCR, I mean, that car just flew. They made it into the chase and everything. It was an astonishing run. So, basically this year, I think a lot of other people have been going, big teams, can we have technical alliances with you? And Richard Childress Racing has been, you know, just giving them out all over the place, to be honest. It's been quite free-spirited. So, I mean, certainly a good one to be partnered with, seeing as Newman nearly won the championship outright. And AJ Allmendinger certainly took maximum advantage. And Allmendinger, he has had quite the story in NASCAR. I mean, he was quite a hot property. I remember first coming across him in 2009 after he tried to run with the Red Bull NASCAR program, but that was in its very early days when it was barely making races, so it was kind of rubbish. Remember, he had already had a strong career in single-seaters and champ cars in particular. That's where I first came across him. He would regularly try and go head-to-head with Sebastian Bourdais, and despite coming off worse a lot of the time, I mean, you know, nearly everyone who competed in champ car came off worse against Sebastian Bourdais. But he was certainly very talented there. And then in 2009, he grabbed a ride with Richard Petty Motorsports, or it may have been Evernham Petty Thingamy-Bob. It was that sort of tie-up still there. He was running the number 44 at Daytona in the Speed Weeks, and had this lovely minimal Valvoline livery. And apparently, this may not be true, but apparently the car only had funds to run about 5 or 6 races all season. He not only smashed it in his dual race, he may also have been in the Bud Shootout. I don't think he was. But he got a top 5 in the Daytona 500. He ran really well all week, and basically, off of that, secured funding for pretty much the whole season. And he had all sorts of sponsors on the car across the whole season. But I always remember that car that he ran at Speed Weeks, the Valvoline car, being my favourite. It's an absolutely awesome car. Then he got signed on to run the 43 in 2010. And then, I believe, did he? Yes, he did continue it in 2011. And then, obviously, in 2012, he looked to make his move to the big time. He moved to the 22 for Penske Racing. But sadly, this is kind of where it unravels because, as we know, he got caught in a kind of Jeremy Mayfield-esque. It wasn't really a sting, but it was more... He failed a drugs test, essentially, and it wasn't anything hardcore. It was essentially something silly like a headache medication or something that showed up illegal. So, unlike Jeremy Mayfield, he didn't try and fight it. He went through the Road to Recovery program. But a lot of people thought, well, you know what? Look at Mayfield's career in NASCAR. It's been trashed, although I'm stoked to kind of be supporting his rise back into motorsport. He's doing really well. For AJ Allmendinger, his top-level career in NASCAR you thought was over. Wrong. 2013, his old employer Penske, despite the fact he sacked him for the 22 car, gave him a shot in the Nationwide Series in the 22 car on the road courses. He swept both of them. You know, forget it. He ran the Indy 500 and was running top 5, top 10 for most of the day until an issue with his belts put him a lap down. And I believe he managed to get back on the lead lap and still run really well. I mean, this guy was on fire. So, with Bobby Labonte, who previously ran the 47, stepping down from full-time operations, Allmendinger ended up stepping into the seat with JTG Daughtry. Now, this car has been a bit of a sleeper. It's not really done much in Cup, but it's just been sort of establishing itself, and it's been a single-car team. I remember when Marcus Ambrose used to run it quite a few years ago now, before he moved to Evernham, around the same time Allmendinger did. So, Allmendinger stepped into this car for his first full-time season since 2011, I think it... Yes, since 2011. And, well, he was pretty good. He was really, really good. He ran the car all year. And these guys, I'm a noted critic of the chase, but these guys worked it to their advantage because they essentially went, right, you know what? AJ Allmendinger's handy on the road courses. Why don't we test the hell out of our road course program, get that on point, and nail one of the road courses, get a win there, that gets us in the chase. Boosh. And you know what? Strategy paid off because he had one of the most epic duels I have ever seen in my time of watching NASCAR with Marcus Ambrose. And there was Kurt Busch and Carl Edwards and Carl Larson and Carl Busch. They were all along for the party as well. It was my favourite race of last year, Watkins Glen. It just about pipped the Daytona 500 and a few of the other races that were really good last year. I mean, in terms of pure racing, last year was really good. And I'm really stoked for this year with the new downforce package and that. Can't wait to see how that goes. It's just the chase I've got a bit of an issue with. But certainly, I don't think AJ and JTG Daughtry have many problems with it, seeing as it got them a lot of good attention. He absolutely smashed that race. It was an epic performance to hold off Marcus Ambrose, probably the best road course racer in NASCAR, who is now, of course, back in V8 Supercars for 2015. And as I say, it was a day in the sun for one of the single car teams. They don't get it very often, but that's why we like to shine a light on them. It's nice to see when Phil Parsons got the attention off the Dogecoin campaign. You know, these cars, these teams, every team starts off, and this is what F1 has forgotten. If you'll if you'll forgive me for getting up on my soapbox for a minute, this is what Formula 1's forgotten. And it kind of patronises and treats its small teams with real disdain. Do you know what? Even the top teams started as little single car teams one day. They all have to start somewhere. You've got to start at the bottom of the ladder. Unless you come in with, you know, bazillionaire charging straight in, funding 3 or 4 cars out of the gate and winning championships right from minute 1. That rarely ever happens. For most teams, it's a slog. You've got to start from the bottom. Quite often, you've got to start as a starting park because you just don't have the money to do it otherwise. And a lot of these teams featured in these reviews started off as at least part-time teams, maybe starting parkers. I definitely think Phil Parsons Racing were for the longest time starting parkers. But all of these teams have risen up and have made their way. I mean, Furniture Road Racing has been around a long, long time, much longer than people think. They've all risen up and got to the point where they were consistent runners. You know, they'll finish top 10, top 20, top 25, most races, get it nice and clean. These are the sort of teams where you want a guy who's fast but will bring it home every week. Because the last thing you want to do is keep fixing or paying money out of pocket that you don't have to fix wrecked race cars. And that's what Bobby Labonte did for many, many years. One of the cleanest guys on the track. He just brought the car home nice every week. And now, this year, they decided, well, you know what? We've got Richard Childress engines. AJ Allmendinger's free, and we know he is talented. He is very hot. How he didn't win a race in the Sprint Cup before, we have no idea, but he absolutely smashed the road course in 2013 in Nationwide, and their belief in him was rewarded in 2014, and I was so stoked. So hopefully you'll see more from this team in 2015. I've spoken enough about AJ Allmendinger. Here's his car. There we go, we spin it around. This is on one of the newer molds as well, and this is probably the best car I've seen of the newest batch. This is a really, really nice model. Everything is exactly where it should be. The finish is just perfect. You've got all the logos there, Bush's, Kingsford, Scott. Those are all the main sponsors they kind of rotate on and off. And incidentally, this was the scheme that he was running at Watkins Glen when he won that historic race. And it is a lovely car. It's really nice. In fact, all of these cars featured in this review are really, really good. I did spend a lot of the time, a lot of the time I get pinged, you know, in many things in real life and that for, oh, you just moan, you're always critical. If you don't like it, don't watch it, with, you know, with the chase mainly. And I'm like, no, I do want to watch because I love it, but I want it to be better. That's why I get annoyed when it's crap. So when I was raging at Lionel for such shoddy products, I was raging because I know they can do better and I wanted better diecast. And we have them now. We do, so you're welcome. Because clearly it was me raging on the internet that someone at Lionel saw my videos and went, oh, we'd better buck up our ideas. This random angry guy from Britain is hating our diecast, so we better step up. Either way, I'm glad they did step up. So let's just showcase one more time all 3 cars from this review. There we go, they're all back together now. So this has been first diecast review of 2015. What will hopefully be a huge year for Team Bombersports, and I can't wait to have you guys all along for the ride. Today, this has been a 3-way single car team special, focusing on, from left to right, AJ Allmendinger's number 47 JTG Daughtry Racing Chevrolet, Josh White's number 98 Dogecoin Chevrolet, and Casey Mears' number 13 Geico Chevrolet. See you there, bring the noise, and let's get ready for a huge time in 2015, shall we?